Hey there. Happy Friday. Golly, one of the last Fridays, if not, no, it's not the last Friday of April, but my gosh, it's close. I'm Jennifer Wilson, and I'm here with my friend Amy Vetter, and we're here to talk Leadership Lunch Chat, where we're going to spend about 20 minutes talking about leadership issues facing the profession. We've been doing this every week since the pandemic started, so for sure we've got to be in the 2-year anniversary realm.
How do you look that up?
We did it. We did it.
We had an official date of that, and I can't remember.
I don't think we did look it up. I think we said we should look that up. Promptly went on to other things, which is our nature. And so anyway, we should look it up. We'll ask Caroline if she could write that down and make us do it. But anyway, I am betting that we're at 2 years, really close, if not, but I'm 99% sure we've passed the 2-year mark of every Friday, or virtually every Friday. We stream and we talk about stuff, and we hope people, and we hope people that will interact with us on comments and social media and help feed topics to us and that sort of thing. And today, Amy and I were chatting before the session, and we think we should talk about why you should always have a people first strategy. And, like if you got to say, like, this is the center or the core, the nucleus of our business, this is one of our most closely held principles. This is something we, that's always first when we think about strategy, when we think about vision, when we think about where we're headed. We would tell you that we think you should have people first. And so we thought we'd talk about what that looks like and why. And so, Amy, I'm just going to have you start if you want, and then I'll chime in here or there with some ideas along the way.
Sure. So, and I think this is a good discussion to have because the term can scare many, that that's the only focus. And here's my thinking on people is the fact is a lot of times we don't spend enough time on people happiness. And when we look at the retention or churn of our staff, or people leaving, or our people engagement scores, it normally will correlate to client happiness as well. And, how happy our people are is how happy our customers are. And so there was a company that I had done some work with, and one of their only things that the CEO looked at was employee turnover of all their managers. And the reason is because if you weren't managing your staff, or you weren't making sure that they were being nurtured or nurtured out, if they're not the right fit for the culture, that's just as important. Everything in the operation starts getting affected. And the cost of losing people as far as training and getting people up to speed and customer relationships and all of that is huge. And so it really is an area that you can't take lightly, but it doesn't mean that you're ignoring other areas of the business or anything else when you use that term. But it is thinking outside of yourself and for the bigger company of what is best for the people that work for you and the customers that you serve.
Got it. I agree with all that. And I think that I do. I mean, I think in public accounting, we have this client first focus, right? Or something, or like clients are so important, we can't put people first. And as if they are like separate, and they're not even close. I was doing a little research on this recently, and Marriott Corporation has like this management axiom or cultural statement or something, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't have it memorized, but it's something like, when your people are happy, then your customers are happy, and when your customers are happy, they come back. And so that's the whole concept. And right now, our people, in many respects, aren't as happy. And maybe I don't know if they're less happy or if there's always been this sort of malaise or something. After busy season, it's always rough. People come out of it a little bit beat up, which is, by the way, a problem we should commit to solve. Like, we should not 3 years from now say our profession is hard. It doesn't have to be hard. We could automate it. We could add, less expensive assistance and capacity into our businesses. We could raise fees. We could trim the client base. There's 1,000 things we could do to make the firm more joyful and more positive and more hopeful for our team members. And we do need to think about putting people first so that they can make clients satisfied. If your people are not happy, even if they hide it, they're attempting to hide their lack of happiness, it'll show up in lower productivity, in more mistakes, in grouchy messages, maybe not giving it their all. It'll also show up sooner or later in them quitting, and the client experiencing a lack of continuity on their projects and watching you have the turnover and thinking, what's wrong over there with my CPA firm that my key people are leaving. So anyway, I just think that we really have to look at this, solidify the people, and the rest of it will take care of itself. The clients will take care of itself because we're taking care of them, and profits will take care of themselves too. So let's maybe shift a little, Amy, and talk about, what does a people first culture look like? Like, what would some of the things we would be thinking about or strategizing for in a people first culture, do you think?
Well, the first thing is making sure you're individually coaching people. Too many times, what I see in practices is it's kind of, figure it out. And the ones that are really good self-starters or, have shown to kind of grind it out, those are the ones that are favored because it takes less time and everyone's really busy. And I think before we got on, we had talked about an example of a manager that was learning to delegate and getting harmed for that as well. So, and I think it's really, really important that once you get into management levels and leadership levels, that is part of your job, that if your billable hours keep going up and you have no time to lead, to nurture, to train, then what happens is that you can lose some really good talent just because you didn't take the time to nurture the skill set. And so I've seen it's really hard for people to enter a firm culture from the outside versus having kind of grown up in a firm culture and not knowing any different. And so someone comes in from the outside with expectations of who helps me with what and training and how to get up to speed. And there's just no time. Everyone's flying by the seat of their pants every day. And so number one is just pausing and finding time in your day to reach out to people below you and to people next to you to ask, how can you help? And the problem is that I will hear a lot from leaders, well, they could have reached out to me. I have an open door policy. Not everyone feels comfortable to reach out from a lower level. They feel like they might be bothering you. They feel like you might think that, something against them because they're asking the question and so forth. So being proactive in this type of culture is really, really important to show that you care and to be giving real-time feedback and not waiting until, the end of a season or the end of the year to give feedback, that it's real time so that you're not mustering frustration or not scheduling them on clients because you had an experience you didn't like, but you didn't actually give them the training opportunity.
Yes. And to do all of those things, a people first culture requires that we hire and invest in and develop really good people developers. That we agree as a group that one of the most important aspects of a people first culture is great leaders, teachers, mentors, supporters, encouragers, feedback givers, and that we're building a culture of those, and that we're not committed to have a bunch of people who don't like that stuff, or who make up excuses not to do it. That we put that first. I would say another attribute of a people first culture is a compelling vision.
Mm-hmm.
And that might sound like, corporate strategy or something, and it is. But if you want your people to come along for the ride, you've got to define a place where we're going that they want to ride to. And we can't do that by ourselves. We don't go off on the mountain and build this compelling vision that's compelling to us as the senior leaders in an organization. We have to build a compelling vision that is something those next generation of owners and next generation of talent want to see us do or achieve, or a place they want to go. And the only way to do that is to involve them in strategy and ask. If I were going to say that there was one word, you say people first, how do we get there? In one word, I would say ask. That's my word. Ask questions of the people. They'll tell you how to get there. They know how to get there. Yes, you'll get 1,000 answers or whatever. But there will be some common, very consistent themes of things that you need to do to get there as an organization. And so ask them where they want to head, and really paint the picture of a compelling vision, and not just a story that we say, but then all of our strategies around that story. That's what we're doing. We're together, just one by one, implementing and innovating to get to that vision together.
Yeah. And part two to that is that it's not just creating it, it's that it's incorporated in everything you do going forward. So too many times these things are created, got a great vision, great values, all of that is out there, but then no one ever really talks about it again. It might be on your website. You might hear it in the annual meeting, but are people actually being evaluated on those attributes? Where is their metrics and their job role that lines up to the overall bigger strategy, so that they know how they fit into it, and that what they do does matter to that overall vision, and that you've got a way to quantify that is happening in their job roles, and to be able to show progress along the way. So when people not only can contribute into the vision, but also see their impact on that vision, then there's a lot more employee happiness in the work that they're doing, because, all of us started somewhere. And when we spend as many hours as we do in the jobs that we work in, we want to feel like what we do matters, and that we have a say, because we are the people closest to the everyday activities of even if there's something that comes out that maybe a staff person or a team member might not completely agree with, if they've got a way to help with the implementation of it, or make it so that it does make sense for their job role, then they're going to be happier than something just being pushed down on them later.
Agreed. Another attribute of a people first culture is paying at or above market. And I've been working on some benchmark reporting for an organization, and comparing top performing firms to to their to the every firm population. And the top performers, while their profits are high, and they're growing at the top line, one of the attributes I think is like the most important to highlight is they're paying their people more. And considerably more, double digits more than the all firm group. And That's not a surprise to me. I'm just saying it out loud, like it's statistically illustrated, if you will. But pay isn't the only motivator. But boy, if we're not paying at or above market, people don't feel valued, and everybody can gauge market these days. It's not just Robert Half, but Glassdoor and Reddit and Fishbowl, and asking their neighbor who is all too ready to share, and the new guy that starts that you had to pay more to. If you don't go back and rectify that with the people that have been there a while that are not at that same level, man, we're making big mistakes. It doesn't say people first.
Yeah. And I know we've talked about salary this season because it just keeps coming up. But the other people to ask are your staff. So just because you're not bringing it up doesn't mean they're not getting the phone calls from recruiters. So if you think that you are having trouble recruiting and retaining staff, well, so is all of your competitors. And the ones that are willing to spend more money are being pretty aggressive going after accountants and CPAs that are in existing CPA firms. So, it's a real struggle because, like we've talked about before, like salary alone isn't going to keep someone, but it's table stakes. And then there has to be a great culture that keeps someone and makes them feel important in the company. But if they're not feeling important in the company, they can do the same work somewhere else and make a considerable amount more. Why would they stay? What's in it for them? And so really thinking about how you differentiate yourself as far as compensation and it can be things, I don't know that our industry is very good at the bonus system, that there's kind of just like stagnant bonuses rather than behavioral and with metrics and really clear ways people can earn more money. So if you don't want to put in the salary, but they know what the clear metrics is to make the additional money that they want to make, and for you, that behavior is worth it to pay that money, then you've got flexibility in what gets spent, as far as that. But getting creative with it is really important. And it's not just about saying, really stepping back and saying, what are the behaviors that I want to have out of my team? And then how do I compensate for those behaviors that it would be worthwhile?
Yeah. Well, and benefits also are out there, right? So unlimited PTO, more holidays.
Which is kind of a joke in this world, but yes.
No.
I mean, if you have billable requirements, unlimited PTO, you can only take so limited.
Yes, but I mean, like we have open PTO,
right? But we're right.
I mean, it's it's a real benefit. I mean, people take time off, and they take off more than they normally would in their first year or two. We take 2 weeks off at the end of the year for the holidays, and in addition to the regular holidays, and there are ways of having additional differentiating benefits. I get you, Amy. I know that some people.
Well, you've got to, in order to do that, you have to adjust your whole billing model to make that work.
You betcha.
Right? And it should be. I mean, absolutely. But still, so many people are on the billable hour that, if I take 4 weeks off, that just means I'm working 80 hours a week every other week, which isn't a benefit either. So
I know, and we're going to have a whole month of the billable hour discussion, right? Every Friday for a month. We're going to talk about different aspects of it, I think. But yeah, everybody will love that. Everybody of a certain generation will love that.
Yeah.
And our traditionalists won't. But we, yes, you have to, manage your economic model and make it make sense. But you were talking about ways to provide additional benefits that aren't just layering on additional base salary and, to keep those fixed costs down or whatever. So yeah, I that's another attribute of people first. And another one that I think is really important that firms, need to think about is this idea of this feedback culture that you mentioned, and having a continuous set of feedback loops and a feedback ready organization. And we have talked about this in the last 2 years, 2 or 3 times at least. People can go back and Google our leadership lunch chats with the word feedback, and you'll get several of them. But one of the things to say about that is, a big aha that I had, I've been spending a lot of my lifetime teaching people how to be good at delivering feedback. And it's only in the last maybe 5 years that I woke up to the idea that it didn't matter how good people were at delivering feedback if nobody in the organization was good at receiving it. Mm-hmm. And so if I were going to spend time and money on teaching people about feedback, it would be being ready for it, but also asking for it, how to get it for yourself, how to get it for your team, how to get it from clients, and then how to, graciously accept it and what to do with it and how to acknowledge it, and just the whole getting feedback side versus giving feedback. And I think if we all focused on that in a real way at all levels, we would be surprised at just how much more functional everything was, because there was this constant readiness to hear what didn't work in busy season. Yesterday, I was talking to somebody and I said, you've got to do a keep, stop, start, for this office because of some of these issues you've encountered this year. Mm-hmm. And you guys have to gather together as partners and talk about them and do keep, stop, start so you could figure out what to keep that worked, what to stop that didn't, which was a decent amount for this person, and then what to start next year. You have to do it. And he was like, can you picture what that's going to be like with these people? They're not going to be very open to that. And I was like, how else do you get better? They have to be open to it. So I felt bad, but I said, just do your best to encourage everybody to come in real straight, but just do it partners only at first if you think some of them are going to be resistant, and practice giving and getting feedback together as partners before you invite other people so that nobody gets smacked down in that room. But anyway, I just think feedback and the whole idea of competence around getting it is a critical people first strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, as usual, we are out of time, but lots to say on this topic. So
yeah, always. And where our hearts lie, right?
Yeah.
So, people first. And we hope that your hearts lie there too, but that maybe you'll play this or forward it to those in your organization that you think might not be bought into it, might not understand the why and the how. And we're happy to hear any ideas you have for this topic or other topics in the future. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.